I think about it like this. What can I do right now that's going to make later easier? That's how I think about pretty much everything. And I notice that when I am not taking actions right now that make later easier, when I'm taking actions right now that make right now easier, the rest is really hard. And I don't like that. I just don't like it. I don't want to do things that make my life harder in the future. Welcome to You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Nothing feels as good as listening to your own voice, and each week we have conversations to help you do just that. Get comfy, grab your favorite fun drink, and let's dive into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Today, we are going to be talking about something that I think everyone has thought about before, but maybe we don't think about it enough. And I think if we can bring a little bit of attention to this topic, it can actually really, really help us. And that is building positive momentum throughout the week. And how we're going to talk about this today is first by just doing a little bit of like, what day of the week are we fun type of thing. And then we want to talk about how we build momentum at the beginning of our week. So for us, that's Monday. It could be whatever the day you determine to be the beginning of your week, and what types of things we do to carry that over so we can have a really great week in comparison to maybe if we don't do those things, what happens at that time when we notice ourselves not feeling so in control. So I'm really excited for this today. And I'm also really excited to tell you about what day of the week I think Meg is. But before I do that, hi Meg, how are you?
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode.
Yes. What a lovely day. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. We're not going to do too much fluffing around in this episode like we usually do. And we were talking about what day of the week that we think that we are. You know how when I don't know where I saw this. I think I saw it on social media, but there was like this trend of like, what day of the week are you, right? And families were doing like, what day of the week do you think everyone in the family is? We did this with Cause's family, and it was hilarious. So Meg, I'm really curious what you think about me, but I think you're a Saturday.
Okay, so quick side note, Maggie and I did this with each other, quick off air a few days ago when we were prepping this episode, and I was surprised that she said I was a Saturday. And I do believe that I'm a Saturday, but I also could see myself being a Sunday. So it's kind of hard, but yes, I think I even told Maggie, and I'll tell all of you this, I feel like it's really hard to be a Saturday type person, but forced to work Monday through Friday. Like it's really hard to be a Saturday and want to just have fun and off and vibes and all the things and have to push through for 5 days, even though I love what I do. So it's not too much of a push, but Saturdays are just, we're meant to have all Saturdays, I think. So I think,
Yeah, that's why I picked it for you, because I was thinking Sunday initially, and then I was like, but she likes to have more fun than Sunday. Like Sundays can be fun for sure. But I was thinking about like the way you live and what types of things you do on Saturday. Like you just told me that you're doing like a dry triathlon tomorrow, and I'm like, this girl is always just like signing up for fun things to do on Saturday.
yes, no, it's true. I'm probably more of a Saturday, but I feel like Saturday and I'm just a weekend girl. I'm
Hmm.
just the weekend. I am the weekend through and through, and we're gonna talk a little bit more after we find out what Maggie's day of the week is, and a little bit later in this episode about how do we bring some more of that into our week. Because to me, I gotta show up Monday through Friday, and I do things that I love, right? Like therapy and here recording and being with you all. Like at least I'm grateful that I show up in fun spaces, that I like the work that I do. But I still have to find ways to bring my Saturday and Sunday vibes into the week, or else it's too much adulting for me. So Maggie, I said that you are a Sunday. And I said that because one, you do fun things on Sunday. Like you usually go to sporting events, and you are, I don't know, you just are a Sunday to me, the perfect mix of fun and options, and let's get ready for the week ahead. So I think that's why I decided that you were a Sunday. Do you align with the Sunday label?
Yeah, I think so. I think, see, for me personally, I think I have a much more, I think we all kind of are like more critical of ourselves, right? So
Mm.
I don't always view myself as that much fun, even though I also know that I am, right? And that I like to have fun. But I don't always view myself that way. So it caught me a little bit off guard from that perspective. But upon reflection, I could totally see it.
Upon reflection, what would you actually truly think your day is?
if I if I wasn't taking that part into consideration and I was thinking of what I usually think of myself as, I would say maybe like a Wednesday or a Thursday.
I need to
Um
know.
and I think that's because those are the days where you're like deep into the routine and the momentum, I think, like, which kind of ties into
Mm,
this episode. Like for me, my Wednesdays and Thursdays are easy. Like no matter
mm,
what's on the calendar, it's easy. I can wake up at any time. I'm not tired. I can do it all. Like I'm excited about whatever it is that I have to do. I can solve challenges easily. And I think it's because there's like a couple days of going built up that by the time
mm,
Wednesday and Thursday come around, I'm just like, I got this.
yeah. Oh, that is a perfect segue because we are literally talking about momentum today. And to break this down a little bit more before I ask Maggie, like what momentum means to you, you're already kind of getting there. And I'm so excited to hear more of your perspective of the momentum of our week and how that can kind of like shift really the way that we show up and how we trust ourselves to show up throughout the week. And that momentum is everything. And it's interesting because I was just at a doctor's appointment today and the doctor was talking about like, the law of like body emotion stays emotion, body at rest stays at rest. What law is that, Maggie? Is that a
Um,
Murphy's law? I
I
don't know.
think it's a
Somebody's
Newton
law.
law.
Sorry.
It's been a while since we've been in science class. I don't really know.
Somebody a little bit smarter than us, please leave a comment below and
Oh
let
my
us
gosh,
know
we should
what
definitely know that.
we should know. You should definitely know that. You are my health and fitness girl. I
Listen,
am
I know what the law
trying to be a health and
says.
fitness girl.
Okay, I know what the law says and I know what it means, and names aren't always my thing. I'm the type of person
I
that's
know.
like, if I'm giving you directions to go somewhere, I don't know the exit number. I don't know the road name. I know like how it works. That's it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm
Anyway.
being funny that you should know that. I know that you know so, so much. But that law of that momentum of, I think that's what I hear you saying about your Wednesday is Thursday is like you're already in flow. And I noticed that, like, just to give a little side note that really is relative, when I'm like really active and walking a lot, or if I had just like spent a Saturday walking around a mall or a park or a hike, I have so much more energy. And I just told Maggie, I was like, I ordered my Aura ring because I think I just really need to get more steps into my day because I notice such a big difference in the momentum of my day. So we're really talking about the momentum of our week, and Maggie has so many like hacks. I have a few too, but you have so many like hacks and strategies of how you build momentums that you like a Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, for those of you listening who are like me, I'm doing the deepest eye roll in my head of like, she likes a Wednesday and Thursday. That to somebody who's a Saturday, that's like, oh my gosh, like absolutely not. But for you, there's something beautiful about that momentum being built of your routine that you love. So, with that being said, what does it mean to build momentum? Like, how do the rest of us here get some of that momentum so that us weekend people can like our Thursdays and our Wednesdays and the most mundane days? Like, how do we build that momentum? No pressure, Maggie.
Yeah, it's okay. This is actually something that I think I'm really good at, and I don't really know why. I think it's one of those kind of innate, definitely learned, but also kind of like innate things for me that I just kind of get. So I'm totally going to accept that and go with it and just know that that is like one of my strengths and one of my skills. And I can see the patterns that help build momentum in a positive way and the ones that destroy it, right? I can really see those things and I pick them out and I want to change the ones that destroy it quickly into things that build it. And that's really my approach to it. So, what does building momentum mean to me? Building momentum, when you think about like that law, right, the way that is explained when you're sitting in science class is like trying to like push something, right? So I like to think about a rock, like think about a really big rock that you could push. Okay, let's just imagine the rock is giant, but you can still move it if you push it, right? So that initial push, like when you're standing behind that rock and it's not moving yet and you're going to push it, you have to do a really big push to get it moving, right? And then once that rock is moving, it doesn't take as much effort to keep it moving, right? And so, what building momentum means to me is really emphasizing the things that we're doing in that initial push. So that way, the rest of it is really easy. And that is what I think about because if I don't prioritize that initial push, every single push the whole week is going to feel hard. And I just don't want that.
That is, I am so, so happy that I asked you that question because for those of us listening who are like, oh my gosh, how do we like do this? How do we enjoy our weeks in this way? Right? Because I know so many people who live in the mentality of like living for Friday. Can't thank God it's Friday. Thank goodness it's here. Like we made it, we survived. And there's nothing wrong with a little bit of that. I've had many weeks like that where I'm like, thank goodness, here we go, weekend. But the problem is that when we take that logic and make a life out of it, it's not really living. I don't really feel alive.
No.
And that has been something that I'm going to tie in a second, but I'm going to stay here with you to reflect on this part because one, I've never heard it in that way of like that push, like pushing that big rock of like, yeah, like for some reason I'm picturing like tires, like when people like lift and then push tires. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
why.
She's in her gym girl era,
She's
everyone.
a gym girly these days. There's no tires at my gym, but I'm still picturing that of like that heavy like 1, 2, 3 lift and
Mhm.
then some more seamlessness. There's still work, but you've done it. I also picture like, oh my God, guys, I'm really a gym girl now.
I
Maggie
love
is
it.
gonna be so proud of myself. But like when I do certain exercise, like I'm thinking of oh God, here, I just tried to flex and now I can't think of what the exercise is. See, look, she's humbled real quick. She's humbled really fast. Um, it's the ones where you're like cleaning, like to
I was
do like a,
I was about to guess it was like a power cleaner, hang clean or
it's like a
something.
power something where it's like, boom, we're going up hard, we're going up fast, and then we're just gliding through the exercise. Those are actually some of my favorite exercises, which is really interesting. Of there's something so satisfying about pushing ourselves to set ourselves up for that momentum. It builds a powerful thing within us. And that was the reason that we wanted to have this episode of like building that with self-trust. I mean, my goodness, right?
Mhm.
And so to go back to what I was saying quickly of having that be our logic for life of like just surviving or just getting through or just pushing through, that really takes away from our ability to live and to feel alive. And I've been talking a lot about this more in my like therapy world, of what does it mean to feel alive? Like what makes one feel alive in life? And I think what you're saying, Maggie, is really resonating with me of like that momentum of life, like the momentum of I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm going. I like where I'm pushing this rock to. Because I think for a lot of us, sometimes, Maggie, we get in these seasons, and some people make a whole life season out of this, unfortunately, where we just go around carrying a backpack full of rocks and we never actually like lifted the rock to give it some momentum to enjoy where the heck we were going. And I know that's a weird analogy, but like how many of you listening have been in seasons or maybe are right now or are in the habit of doing this all the time where we're just carrying some heavy rocks on our back and we are just pushing through. We're getting up, we're getting in our car, we're having the same breakfast, we're grabbing the same coffee, we're talking to the same people, we're showing up to the same job, we're leaving the same job, we're coming home, maybe stopping at the same place to get something to eat or making the same meals. And we're just like, whoa, is this it? Is this what it was supposed to be? Because this doesn't really feel like living. This feels like surviving. And I felt like that was a worthy place to go of the momentum. I think that's what I hear you saying, Maggie, of like, you're so proud of this skill that you've nurtured because your life, in some ways, and I'm getting a little therapy here, but we're going to, let's see where it goes. In some ways, I may guess that you've designed your life to be the opposite of what I've just explained.
That's the goal, for sure. Yeah. I think about it like this. What can I do right now that's going to make later easier? That's how I think about pretty much everything. And I notice that when I am not taking actions right now that make later easier, when I'm taking actions right now that make right now easier, the rest is really hard. And I don't like that. I just don't like it. I don't want to do things that make my life harder in the future. And so I really think about everything from that perspective. It could be from what I'm eating now to how I'm going to feel later. It could be from if I'm exercising now to how I'm going to feel later. It could be even something like teaching someone else how to do something properly so that way it's actually delegated and I don't have to hover over their shoulder all the time, right? Like I see this so much in owning businesses when you have teams, right? Or you have to work with people in general and you have the opportunity to delegate things. We get into this cycle of saying, okay, this thing needs to be done, right? I have this person that I could teach to do it, but it's going to take me some time and effort to teach them to do it. So instead, I'm going to just do it myself right now because right now it'll be easier if I just do it myself and later I'll teach them, right? And then the later teaching them never comes and you're constantly doing it yourself where you have someone sitting right there that could be helping you, right? And that is the perspective that I like to take into every decision that I'm making because whether or not it's actually another person, that same concept applies, right? I could take a little bit more action right now. I could do something that's a tiny bit harder in this moment to make all of the rest of it so much easier. And that's what I like to do. And it's hard. It's hard to do that because doing the easy thing right now is easier. It feels better. It's usually faster, right? And we get a dopamine hit. We get a reward for just doing the thing right now instead of doing the little bit harder thing to set us up for success in the long term. And I really think it's really important that we strive and learn to switch that because otherwise we're doing exactly what you just said, which is we're just surviving, carrying around all this shit, right? That we could have set up to run without us or be easier and we chose not to.
Wow, that deserves a minute and just a pause. And I got to be careful because I get all like jacked up.
That's how I feel.
Such a good, yeah, I get so like, oh, I just get really passionate. I can't wait to see the video back of me going like this, like her. For those of you who are watching, like rare. I really notice and hear you saying like, this is such a theme that we can have across our lives. And let's just like zoom out for a hot second with what Maggie is saying. Picture this in a lot of the systems that we have set up, especially here in the United States, of our children, right? Our partners. How many of us are in places or have been in places where we start doing all these things for kids or for our partners or for our family or whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, I'm here, there, and everywhere. And when we actually take some time to show people what they can be doing for themselves. And I think our podcast is really for all humans. Like we don't specifically say like we're here to like speak to women only because we're truly not. Like we have a lot of male listeners and we love all of our humans here, all of our trustees. But this is a theme that I do believe happens a lot more for women, where we tend to take on a lot more. And I'm going to say something a little hot takey here, that I think sometimes it's our fault.
It
And
is.
not always. There are definitely things that have been societally put upon us,
Yeah.
and all the things. There are absolutely things that have been a burden on women that are not our faults, but there are pieces that are our fault.
Agreed.
Because, like Maggie is saying, instead of doing the hard thing in the moment of showing said child how to do X, or showing said partner how to do X, which that's a topic for another day, like it's so annoying that we have to show them, but when you come from systems where that's been the case, that people have done everything, that typically falls on somebody's back. And a lot of times it's the woman or the mother of a household in the United States. And I know that's not every family. And Lord knows I'm trying to create a family that's not that family, right? Because I don't want to have more on my back than I already have to. But I hear what you're saying, Maggie, of that momentum of like, that can be the cost. So if we don't lift the rock to give it some momentum to fly on its own, we can end up carrying rocks all freaking day long. So for an example, it's the last example I'll give, and it's a silly one, but I think it'll resonate with those of you listening. When we have kids who are constantly forgetting their athletic gear, let's just go really like simple, right? They're always forgetting their athletic gear. So you have taken the rock of checking athletic gear and putting it in your backpack as a parent, right? Mom, dad, whoever it may be. You now have this rock. It might be a smaller rock, right? Like checking that they have their athletic gear. But you've now made that your rock. Okay? So you have said, let me check for their athletic gear. Boom, that rock is in my backpack. Instead of giving them the opportunity to build the self-trust in themselves that, oh, shoot, I forgot my athletic gear. I can't play my sport today. Oh, shoot, I got to call my mom and now inconvenience her or my dad and da-da-da. And what happens is, besides the one-offs where every now and again we're human and we got to help each other and blah, 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 you have now robbed that child of the opportunity to build self-trust and responsibility within themselves, and you've added another rock in your backpack that you don't need. And so if you can take that very simple example and apply that to what Maggie's saying, it's really landing for me, Maggie.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And I think like the way we can have that responsibility be held by the right parties can look different in different ways for different people, right? So you just gave one example of the child needs to learn that it's their responsibility to have their sports equipment for their game, right? Another way that that could look is, instead of, as mom, dad, whoever, you just go check the backpack because you're like, oh, they're going to forget it again. And then it's going to inconvenience me if they forget their stuff. So let me just go check it so that way I don't have to do it. Another way we could build that self-trust and like learning that, and this doesn't have to just be with children, we can do this with ourselves too, is maybe we're doing a reminder every night for them to go check their backpack, right? And so we're involved in helping build this skill, right? And we're still not the ones doing it, because when we do that, now we are showing other people how we want to have things done and how we can do things in a way that's really effective, right? So we're teaching them, hey, if you check your backpack every night, there's going to be a really good likelihood that you have everything that you need, right? You're going to be able to play. I'm not going to be inconvenienced. Everyone wins. And the cost of a reminder is a lot smaller than the cost of leaving work, driving home, picking up the stuff, bringing it to school, going back to work, right? The whole thing. And so I think that there's a lot of different ways it could look. It doesn't have to just be one way, but the through line here is that we can't just do things ourselves just because it's easier, because now we just end up carrying all of this stuff that's not really our responsibility, and we can't create momentum. And the other thing that happens is when we start to collect all these things, right? Oh, it's just easier if I do it. Oh, it's just easier if I do it. Oh, it's just easier if I do it. When we start to collect all these things, eventually we're going to get to a breaking point where either we can't sustain it anymore or we start to forget, right? And I see this all the time where someone is saying, well, I just don't have the time right now to train them. So I'm just going to do it myself. And you see this myself, and you do see this all the time in work where I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. I'll just do it myself. Then that person gets stressed out. They get overwhelmed. They forget to pay someone. Now that person's angry because they didn't get paid because they forgot the message somewhere in this thing. And it's like, we have a system for that. Right? We have a system for that. We need to have systems for these things, whether it's our personal life, whether it's work, it could be anything. So that way we're not just like carrying all this stuff that's on us to remember and do.
I this episode has some momentum. Let's just there.
Fired up about it, okay?
I love it. The momentum of what we're talking about in terms of our weeks and how that impacts us. I really like that you mentioned systems, Maggie, because I know one of the themes that we're going to talk about in today's episode is what do we do on Mondays to like build this momentum for the week? And we'll get to that question in a second, but in some ways it makes me think of like, it's really hard to juggle all of these things. That's why I think a lot of us sometimes dislike Monday through Friday. It's because we've got so many lists going on in our minds, right? Like you've got the work stuff, you've got the personal, you've got the family, you've got the, like whatever it may be. A lot of our weeks can be very full, and can be a beautiful thing and a very beautiful life in a lot of ways. And if there's no system for it, talk about freaking chaos, right? Like chaos. And I don't need chaos. I'm chaotic enough on my own. My brain has enough chaos to last me a lifetime. I'm good. Okay. I'm good on the chaos. I need Maggie's over here. Like we're talking about how like we keep our anxiety levels in check, like all these things of I need a system to organize said chaos.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways we can do that is to build a momentum through our week to help sustain that system so that we're trying, like our podcast here is never trying to give you more work. In fact, we're trying to take away your work. And I'm the same way, like as a therapist with my clients is I'm never trying to give you more work. I'm trying to make your life easier. Yep. So if there's a tool that I recommend or a technique, it's typically something that may be a boom heavy lift in the moment, like a, pick up that rock. But in the future, it's to make things easier. Exactly. And so when we think about that, I want to focus on that for a second, Maggie, of like, what do we do to build that momentum? And for us, it typically starts on Mondays.
Yes, for me, Monday morning is so important. And actually, the idea for this episode came because this week I failed myself miserably on Monday morning and I paid for it. Let me tell you, it is Friday afternoon right now when we are recording. And I truthfully feel like just now I have my usual like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday momentum. It's freaking Friday. Okay, that took way too long. And so that's like how this episode came about. And I know for me that what I do on Sunday night and what I do on Monday morning are really, really important for me to have the proper big push on that rock, right? To get going and make the rest of my week easier. So do you want to get right into like practical things? Yeah. Okay. So let's start on Sunday night because Sunday night, in my ideal world to create the best momentum, now I just want to be clear, this doesn't happen every single Sunday. And that's the whole point, right? Like we're striving to do things that help us make our life easier and help us like decrease those levels of anxiety and feel more in control and all of that, right? And very well aware from my own experience that I'm not always perfect at it. So if you aren't either, don't worry. We're all in this together and we are all just trying our best, right? So I am going to talk about these things from the ideal, but I just wanted to say that like it doesn't always look like that every single time. So Sunday night for me.
I want to thank you for saying that quick, Maggie. I want to hear all of this, but I feel like that needs a quick second.
Yeah.
Because in social media, podcasts, anytime we hear great tools, which, oh my gosh, like how Maggie and I always talk about, like, we have such a complicated relationship, like social media and like this virtual world. And like, oh my God, do we love it? Do we hate it? Are we somewhere in between? Like, it depends on the week. But that is one thing that I will say is that there are so many incredible tools, techniques, strategies. Like the world is at our fingertips in terms of like health and wellness tips or strategies, or gosh, I have an app now, Chat GPT, that can change my whole life. Right. And what you just said, I really want to stay with for a hot second, because when we hear all of these great strategies or tools or tips or tricks, we hear them and we're like, oh my gosh, that's so good. Like ding, ding, ding. And how fun is that? How fun is that we can open our phones and get into this virtual world where we can like find things to make our lives easier or more fun or more accessible or more lively. Like that's freaking awesome. I love that. Then what happens a lot of times, though, is that we hear these great ideas. We don't sustain them all the times, and then we shame ourselves.
Yep.
Okay? We shame the hell out of ourselves. We make ourselves feel like shit about ourselves. And then we're like, well, I must just suck as a person. And what's the point of having all these health and wellness tips? Because I can't keep up with it. Mm-hmm. I heard that great thing from Sally Sue on TikTok, and I tried it for a week, and then I didn't keep up with it. So, like, health and wellness just isn't for me, or strategies just aren't for me. And it's so easy for us to go there because unfortunately that's the way our system was kind of set up in a lot of ways, which I should episode for another time of the societal things, a part of that. However, let me talk to the listener directly. If that is you and you hear all these great ideas, which I'm sure you're about to hear a lot of great ones from Maggie. She's about to give you a beautiful sampler platter, if you will, of things you can do on a Monday to lift that fucking rock to make the rest of your week easier and have good momentum flowing. And these are ideals. Maggie doesn't always do these, I would assume. It sounds like this week that rock wasn't getting off the ground, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So I really felt the need to say that, of like, we got to stop shaming ourselves because we're just trying. Yeah. We're trying. And every week we try more. And guess what? If we feel by Wednesday it's not working, we don't have to wait till Monday to start again. We can pick up that rock anytime. Yep. We can pick up that rock anytime during the week, give ourselves this big push and say, let's do this. Let's keep the momentum going, because we're not here to be perfect. We're here to enjoy our lives more and trust ourselves enough to feel alive. And shaming ourselves through the week until we get to the weekend, sorry, not the way I want to live my life. And I would argue that probably most of you don't either. Yeah. So Maggie, thanks for letting me interrupt you. Please tell us, let's lift this damn rock. Mm-hmm. What do you do on Mondays to get that push going to set up the week that you trust yourself to have?
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. Thank you for saying that and for slowing me down, because I was about to just steamroll right through this. So I'm so excited that you kept us there for a second, because I agree that it is really important that we recognize that it's really easy to take what everyone else says and automatically assume. I think this just happens in our brain. Like, I don't know why it does this, but we automatically assume that that person does those things 100% of the time and they're perfect and they're different from me. And that's why they can do it and I can't. And not true. So we're going back to Sunday night. Okay. Sunday night, in an ideal world, to be able to pick up that rock on Monday, getting enough sleep. Okay, I need at least 8 hours. I'm very high maintenance in the sleep department. Okay, so getting enough sleep, really important. I also really need to go through all my emails and like brain dump all the stuff, right? Because when Monday morning comes around, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, especially if you're like going into your office, you're opening your email and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm bombarded with so much stuff that I need to do. Right. And I like to try to mitigate that a little bit on Sunday. So that way I'm not feeling as overwhelmed on Monday morning. So for me, that looks like going through, like clearing out my personal email inbox, and like marking anything that's important as unread. I don't usually take action on things on Sunday. I just set myself up to be able to take action on Monday with clarity instead of having to sort through all the junk. So those two things are really, really important for me on Sunday to help with Monday. Now, one other thing I want to mention about the weekend, it doesn't always happen on Sunday for me, but I try to prioritize like resting and not having a lot on my schedule on either Saturday or Sunday. So one of those days, I need some space to just be. And remember, these are my ideals to have a really great Monday morning and great week. So those are the things that I do before we get to Monday. Would you like to have any input on that before I keep going?
I do. I like hearing about your Sunday because I actually really didn't know too much about your Sunday. Um, and I like to hear that because we always assume, like when you're talking about momentum, I actually forgot that you were going to bring us to Sunday. I knew a little bit because we had prepped this episode, but I didn't know exactly what you would talk about. And I'm thinking like, oh, her Mondays just me like must be like jam packed. Like they must be like really, really, really heavy. And in some ways, and it sounds like there is the push, but having almost like the warm up on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, if we go with the gym girly talk,
Yep.
you're warming up Sunday in a way that gives you space and rest, but also a little bit of like oomph
Yeah.
to be able to dread Monday less because so many people, and I've experienced it a few times. Again, I feel very, yeah, I was going to say blessed, but I created this life. So yes, I'm blessed, but it's also like I fought really hard to enjoy the life that I wanted, right? And so, sorry, I don't know why I had to make such a bold statement there, but I felt the need to be like, blessed, yes, but also like work damn hard to like my job and to become these things. But blessed enough to be able to say, like, we have this space to take that time on Sundays to prep for Monday.
Yeah.
Like being able to say, let's get things rolling on a Monday and to not have so much of like the Sunday scaries. That's what I was trying to say. I got lost there for a second of when we have that Sunday scaries type feeling. I think a lot of times we just do because the weekend is so fun and it can lead a lot of people to especially who don't like what they're doing to feel it more.
Yeah.
And that's what I was really getting at is like I feel blessed to have my job, but also like can we say that? Because like we work really hard to get the jobs that we want. So it's a catch 22 there of how do we like what we're doing enough to not really have true Sunday scaries, but also how do we prep ourselves enough to like mitigate that. So for those of us who are in a season where we're just pushing through and doing what we got to do to get to the life we desire, we still can have a little more of what you're saying, Maggie, of like some space to almost buffer the impact of Mondays, especially if we don't love what we're doing during the season.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy you brought that up, and I'm going to stop us from going down too much of a tangent because I do want to get back to the point of the episode, but I do want to just touch on this a little bit. I think our perspective and how we choose to look at what we're doing is really, really, really important. Like, let's just be real. Do you think I want to go through my email on Sunday? Like, do you really think I want to do that? I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to be opening up my email on Sunday. And I own my own businesses and I usually love them. Sometimes I don't, of course, right? And I usually love the life that I've created. And I do feel blessed because I do feel like to me that means like I've taken what I've been given and made the most of it, right? And so and like added more in and like you said like fought really hard, like that all falls under that category to me. And I don't want to do that. Okay? Like I don't want to be in my email on Sunday. And there are things that I'm sure that no matter what season you're in, you don't want to do, right? And I'm going to say something a little bit bold too, like you did before. Get over it. Like, I think it's really important that we take action on things that help make our life better, whether we want to do them or not. And usually it's the things that we don't want to do that if we just spend a little bit of time doing them, it makes everything better, right? I've been in plenty of seasons where I was bawling my eyes out thinking about going back to work the next day. Bawling my eyes out, like hated my life more than anything. And that was 100% real. And I still had the choice of what I was going to do to make it a little bit better. Right. And I think that those things, we have to separate them a little bit, right? We have to separate I'm not absolutely in love with what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to do it for myself. I'm not doing it for anyone else other than me, because if I do this thing right now, it's going to make my tomorrow better. Right. And that's really important. Okay. So whatever it is, whether it's in your email, whether it's, I don't know, whatever the heck it is that you have to do to make the momentum the next day a little bit easier, we got to just do it. Okay. And I know that sounds like maybe a little harsh, maybe a little intense, but I really think that that's the only way that we can make it better.
Mm. I needed to hear that. I'm sure there's some trustees who needed to hear that. So thank you for going bold. And I think it only sounds bold because a lot of times we talk so much about the beautiful things of like create the life you desire and trust yourself and do all the things. And all of that still applies, right? All of that is so relative. And there are so many aspects of our life that we don't always feel like doing it. And we have to talk about that because or else we feel like there's something wrong with us.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I've been talking about how I'm in my gym girl era and I'm learning how to love exercise and blah, blah, there's still more days than not where I don't want to.
Right.
I don't want to go and exercise. I don't want to chart my notes for therapy. I don't want to answer emails. I don't want to still do lengthy grad work assignments. Like there are so many aspects. Sure, I might be doing what I love, but I don't love these parts and I don't want to do them. Let's even broaden this out a little bit. I have deep, beautiful friendships, and I am so, so grateful for that. I have a deep, beautiful marriage. Okay. Those deep, beautiful relationships have really ugly moments. And I'm going to get us right back on track, Maggie. I promise. You're probably like, oh my gosh, Meg, she's going.
I have full faith
We give
in
her
you.
we go an inch and she takes a mile, because that's truly what it is. Maggie will go an inch into a tangent and then I'll be like, I'm going to run the mile.
Well, that's why I was just setting the standard of like, if we go, I will pull us back, but you're going to pull us back. So we'll be fine.
If anybody heard that and was like, oh, Maggie's like saying, oh, I'm going to get us back on track. That was, she just drew a boundary for me. So in case you were wondering, that was an invisible fence that she drew for her co-host of like, Meg's going to take us, out of the stadium and we're going down the street for a beer somewhere.
Yeah,
because
we know each other pretty well at this point.
She's out of there. But this feels relevant to the momentum piece. Okay. So the momentum of my beautiful, long-standing friendships, I've got a few, not many, a few. Maggie is one of them, of a beautiful, long-standing, momentum-filled friendship that can stand the test of time because one, the foundation is strong. And there have been moments where Maggie and I have had like little square offs, or moments where we've had to have really uncomfortable conversations or disagree or articulate tricky feelings. Same thing with my marriage and other relationships where they have beautiful momentum, right? There's so much trust, there's so much beauty, and they have some really ugly, hard moments of lifting that goddamn rock to allow us to build that momentum. And so, boom, I'm getting right back on track. When we think about that for our weeks, I'm going to transition us into the part that I'm most excited to talk about as a Saturday girly. But the last part that we really wanted to talk about was, how do we make it a little more fun? Okay, so Maggie gave us the bold, the needed, the necessary, I'm wearing my Nike sweatshirt, just do it vibes, like just freaking do it. Lift that rock, let's go, get over it, suck it up, which is like not the language we want to use a lot because it's very shameful. However, if we can separate that for a second, we got to have a little bit of that so we can still do the things we need to do in life. And we're not always going to love it. And I think sometimes this is a little bit of a side note. Again, promise, Maggie, we're right here. I'm right in it. Just like sometimes I think we've almost gone too far of the opposite way, especially a little more like our generation of like, we want everything to be good vibes, good vibes, good vibes. Yep. And we forget that like to have those good vibes, sometimes we have to do difficult things to get there. And we have to trust ourselves enough to do those difficult things to get those good vibes back, but we can do it. So how do we make it a little more fun? All right,
Yeah.
our weeks. As a Saturday girly, how do we make the week more fun so that we don't dread it? Because I don't want to dread my life. I don't want to dread my week. So, what the heck do we do about it?
Yeah, going back to what you said in the beginning, I did just the math, the simple math on my calculator so I could give you the percentages. But Monday through Friday, 5 out of 7 days of the week, right? 71% of your week, Saturday, Sunday, weekend, 2 out of 7 days, 29% of your week, okay? If we hate the whole week and we live for the weekend, that's not some good percentages, okay? That's not good to only be living for 29% of your life. No, thank you, okay? So, how do we make it more fun? How do we build momentum so that way every day is closer to our ideal? That's what we're going to talk about. So for me, I recognize that this is the exact details are not the same for everyone because I don't work for someone else, so I don't have to do work on their timeline. Okay, so I just want to preface that yours might be a little bit different because you are in internship working in other people's businesses, right? And so you'll be able to speak to that a little bit more. But for me, regardless of whether I could do this on my own or if I was going into a workplace of somewhere else, I know that Monday morning before I start working, I have to be doing things for me that fill up my cup that make me feel really, really good. And so those things are fun for me. I've picked things that are fun, that I enjoy to kind of hit both birds with one stone. Right? So that way I'm doing things that build momentum and they're more fun. So you might not enjoy exercise, reading, journaling, doing personal development, but I do. And so those are the things that I do on Monday morning to build momentum. I need to move my body. If I didn't exercise a single other time in the whole week, I have to do it on Monday morning. Okay, that is one thing that's really important. I need some
Never miss a
silence.
Monday.
Never miss a Monday. I need some silence. Okay, please don't bother me for a little bit in the morning. I need to be with myself. Okay, I'm not responding to your emails. I'm not responding to your text. You can reach out. I'll get back to you at my own
She
timeline.
means it. She canceled our Monday morning calls, everybody.
Literally.
So if you're,
Yeah.
she truly means it. She canceled on me,
Yeah.
and for good reason. I'm here for it.
Yep. I need to learn something. Okay. I need to be reading or listening to a podcast, taking a course, something like that. I need to give my brain some juice. Those things are really fun for me. Okay. Your fun is going to look different from my fun. So I'm so excited to hear about how you make it fun. But those things are really important for me because when I do them and I give myself that space, I can fly through the rest of everything else because I'm priming myself. It's like the second warm up, right? Sunday's the first warm up. Monday morning is the second warm up. And then I am ready to power clean, okay? Those cleans, that barbell's going to move so fast, aka my work, right? Everything else I need to do. It's going to be flying because I warmed up properly, okay? And when I don't warm up properly, that weight that I just lifted the other day, it's way too heavy. I can't get it off the ground, right? I can't get it off the ground. And then it takes me all the way until Friday to feel like I have any energy. And we just don't like that.
No, we don't.
Yep.
We want to feel like we have the say so in our weeks.
Yes.
And we know, because I'm kind of in that season where I'm kind of work for myself, kind of work for others still, of here's what I'm going to say that I think is really applicable framework, which Maggie, thank you so much for sharing that because I love where you're about to get so many ideas, everybody listening. So buckle up of you just got so many of Maggie's and she gave me some ideas that I haven't even thought of. And then I'm about to give some too, but I want to give us a little bit of a framework of how we can view it. And I'm really working on implementing this. It has not been in the ideal yet for me, but I'm working towards it. And again, ain't finding no perfectionism over here, especially with me. There's no, Meg is a constant figuring it out kind of person. And I like that. I'm here for it and we're going to do it. So what I'm trying to think about lately that may be helpful to you is what do I own in my day? Where does my mental real estate own? If we picture a Monopoly board, what do I own? Where can I put a house? And what I have right now, for the most part, is my mornings and my nights, just like most people. So if you work a 9 to 5, you typically have mental real estate of your morning slot and your night slot. the bookends of your day, if you will. Most of us go to a job where somebody else has more real estate. Doesn't mean you can't do some things to feel well during those days, which Maggie probably has a ton of tips and tricks for you on that. There are definitely still things that even though we may clock in or work with other people, there are ways where we need to be maximizing our breaks, our lunches, our 15-minute breaks, movement. Like that is a whole thing that if we have time for, we could probably do a couple little grab and goes for that. But we definitely need to have our real estate book ended in our mornings and our nights. So for me, my mornings, especially let's go Monday because we're going with the theme of momentum. So Monday's got to come out strong, right? We got to come out swinging. I typically never miss a Monday morning class at Orange Theory. I also go to the 7:30 class on Mondays because I need to go a little bit earlier. That way I have no excuse of not missing it. So sometimes throughout the week, I'll be like, oh, I have a client. Maybe I won't go at this time. Da, da, da. I don't have anything on the mornings of Monday. And Maggie just canceled our 8:30 call and I would rush to that. I don't even have that, right? And again, rightfully so. This isn't me like shaming Maggie. Like feel very fortunate to have a co-host who like trusts herself enough to be like, this doesn't work for me. And highly encourage you all to do the same of say what doesn't work for you when you can. So anyways, Monday mornings, workout time. So I'm getting up, probably sleeping in a little bit more, maybe 6:30 wake up call, going to my class. In a perfect world, I would then go afterwards and probably get a really fun drink, whether it be an iced coffee or an iced matcha. I haven't really done that, but it's making me want to just talking about it of like, what a fun tone to set for Mondays. Like I always save the weekends for an iced latte or a fun breakfast out. Like I always save that for the weekends. And like, why? I can do that on Monday mornings if I go to a workout class early enough. So I'm going to start implementing that of like a fun drink or something to just set the tone off right. That like, we don't have to get too far away from the weekend vibes. Like we got time to get a coffee. And I would argue that most of you do too. If you wake up early enough and can get an exercise in, whether it be a class or just a walk around your block, I would argue that you probably have enough time to stop in and get a quick, fun drink. After that, my Mondays, a lot of times I'm trying to prioritize like strategy type things to implement of, okay, fresh week, let's do this. How do we time block the week enough that it's not overwhelming? So what Maggie was saying about a brain dump, for those of you who don't know what a brain dump is, I'll give you the 10-second version where you take pretty much a blank piece of paper. If you're extremely busy, grab like a big like sketch pad vibe sized paper, but a blank white crisp piece of paper. You're going to dump everything that's floating around in your mind onto the paper. So anything from, kids ballet class 4:00, meeting on Wednesday, doctor's appointment Friday, work meeting 11, presentation due, school assignment due Friday, whatever it is, all of those swirly whirly thoughts are getting dumped onto the paper. Mondays are perfect days to do those because you're coming off of weekend vibes and you're saying, I know there's work to be done, but it doesn't have to suck. So how do we make it suck less? We brain dump the shit onto the paper. And then we organize on our planners or our Google calendars or whatever the heck you're using, your to-do lists of how do I manage this that I don't hate my life? Because what Meg does all the time, and she's doing this week, which is really unfortunate, of my not so ideal moment of I didn't properly plan this week. So Friday is sucking. Okay, this Friday is a mad dash. I feel the anxiety. I'm revved up. I'm trying to get it all done so that I can unwind. I don't want my weeks to look like that. I want to have been useful and intentional with my time, that I truly get it done. Because sometimes, Maggie, I find myself saying, and for those of you listening, I'm wondering if you can relate. A lot of times I will find myself flailing and saying, oh my God, I don't have enough time for all the things I'm trying to do. I got too much going on, too many hands in this pile and that pile and da-da-da. And I say that a lot, like all the time, and I probably will again. But the truth is that most of the time it's just mismanaged time. And that is something where, like Maggie did, like some of the tough love, I've got to have some tough love, not shame. I'm not shaming myself. It's all good, right? And You got to get your shit together, Meg, but make it fun.
Yes. Yeah. And I wonder, like, I know some people love color coordination, right? You're really into your color coordination right now, right? Maybe that brain dump and that organization. Yeah, she's showing her like multicolored pen that you had in fifth grade, right? Or maybe, sorry, I just called you
That you
out,
stole off the teacher's desk because you
literally.
didn't have a pen like this, but you accidentally forgot to give it back.
Yeah. Um, or maybe you have your highlighters or you're in your digital calendar and you're giving it all the colors, right? We have to make it fun. Maybe for you, you really don't like colors, you don't care, but you have your fun drink while you do it, right? Or you're doing it in the coffee shop before you go to work or whatever it is that you can fit in. Maybe you're listening to some music while you do it. Whatever it is that you enjoy to make it a little more fun, do that, right? We get into this cycle of like, I have to do this thing and it's not going to be any fun. And now I have to make it even more miserable than it's already going to be just because. And it's like, why? Why can't it be fun, right? Make it fun.
Yes. And I want to finish one last thing on my Monday momentum part of I love that. Again, I don't know how to do this life without trying to make it fun. I just don't know how. I know how to do it miserable if I don't want to make it fun. I know how to do it cranky. I know how to do it upset and kind of angry at the world. Right? Sorry, everybody. Quick pause. There was something really quick. But what I was trying to say is that I know how to do that in a miserable manner if I had to. However, I don't want to live my life like that. So how do I carry that over into the week? And one last thing that I will say that I'm working on with the bookend part, for some of the little like grab and go pieces, is I want to really practice like washing the day away. And so for me, a lot of times that's a long walk at the end of the night to kind of like set that momentum of movement feels good, wiping away the day feels good. How do we do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that that is really, really important and something that is easy to overlook, right? I know for me, you were talking about feeling like you don't have enough time to do all of the things because it's just mismanaged time, right? And for me, I definitely experienced that too. And I experience feelings of feeling like someone else is in control, right? And it's actually quite odd because literally nobody else is in control for me and I still feel that way, right? So if you feel that way, I want to just normalize that a little bit because it's normal to feel like we don't have control over our own day and we have control over a lot of it. And what we do at the end of the day is really, really important to set us up for the next one, right? So I love that you mentioned that because we have control over what we do, right? I noticed like last
Mm-hmm.
night, Kaz and I, we went and played soccer at like 6 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
and just like got some exercise in. It was fun to play and I felt so good, right? That's probably contributing to why I have so much energy today because I disconnected. I wasn't on my phone. I wasn't doing
Yes.
work things. It wasn't lingering into the nighttime, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did something that allowed me to unplug and reset. And I think that that is really important when it comes to actually building that momentum because
Mm,
we need the reset time to be able to go again.
yes. And not to like really bow down on our mission, but like here I go. I think it's bear down actually, maybe not bow down, whatever it may be. It also builds that self-trust that like, yeah, I know I got shit to do. I know I've got to, get up early tomorrow and do all the things. And those 6 p.m. nights with your husband playing soccer on a midweek, most people, most of us, even me, I notice myself, and I'm the queen of fun, being like, oh no, like, not oh no, and like, oh my gosh, how are you doing that? But like, I could see myself being like, I don't really have time for that. I'm in such a big rush and all these things. And what can happen is that when we don't make room for that fun, we get into that rush mode of trying to get it all done. And then we pause for a second and we're like, what am I rushing for? Most days are ordinary. And I was just listening, Michelle Obama has a podcast now, in my opinion, and I've been really loving it. And she was talking about something along those lines of like, most of our life is super ordinary. It really is. Like, there's really fun moments sprinkled in, and a lot of times they happen on the weekends and da da da. But like Maggie just gave us the stats for, which I'm so happy you did, Maggie, that would be 29% of our life. Do I want to live up to 29%? No, thank you. So what does that mean? I'm building self-trust to know that I can go and play soccer midweek. We can go and get an ice cream cone Wednesday night. Kids are going to go to bed early. I don't have kids, but I'm just saying for people who do, they can go to bed late tonight. It is what it is. We might be a little tired tomorrow, but we're living. Mm-hmm. We're living our lives instead of this rush, hurry up and get it over with vibe. How do we, and I'm going to really leave off with this question, and who knows, maybe we'll tie it into next week because that might be kind of fun. But for those of you listening, like, if I could leave you with a prompt, I've never done this before. It's probably because I'm in such therapy mode all the time now of sometimes I'll leave clients with like homework. For those of you who have been in therapy, like, sometimes your therapist gives you homework.
I'm like, please give me homework. Tell me what to do.
Yes. And I have clients who are like, yes, give me all the homework. And then I have clients who are like, don't give it to me. I'm not going to do it. So let's just like, not pretend here. But I'm going to give you a little bit of homework if you're open to it of how do we capitalize on the time that we have control over? So like I said, that momentum of where do we have control? Most of the time, our mornings, our nights, little moments of breaks during the day. Take inventory of where do you have control? Okay. Now capitalize the freaking hell out of it. Because we have ordinary moments. So when we have a Wednesday night at 7:30, go get a soft serve ice cream. Go to a soccer game. Go and do what makes you feel alive. Because if we only save that for the weekend, I'm not trying to live only 29% of the time. That's pretty much on almost dead mode according to my battery. It goes on to pretty much low power mode. So I got to figure out ways that if my little matcha after my Monday morning gets me going, I'd say that $5 matcha is really worth it. It's probably more like $7 these days, but I'm going to say that the $7 is worth it because I want to enjoy my life all week long. And the only way to keep that momentum going for me is to have the fun trickle over into the week.
I love that so much. I am so excited to hear what you guys take away from that. So if you think about that, reach out to us on social media and let us know what you come up with, because it's going to look different for everyone. So I'm so excited to see that. And the last thing that I'll leave you with is bringing it all the way back to the beginning of something Meg said, that we don't know the name of the law. And if you know what it is, let us know. But objects in motion stay in motion. So get yourself going. Get yourself moving, and it'll be a lot easier to stay there.
Yes.
So that's all for this week. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Meg. I cut you off.
I was going to say, please, please, please share it with us, because us being a community here of the trustees and building self-trust, then we can come back on and share what those are. And at the end of the day, all we want from one another as humans is to connect, get some tips, get some tricks, make this life easier and more fun and more livable. And the only way we can do that is to interact. So please, for those of you who listen to our show, come find us on social media. It's just You Can Trust Yourself podcast, pretty much for all handles. And then we can share and get some thoughts going, because we all need one another for that. So.
Yes. We absolutely do. And with that is all for this week. We will see you next week right back here. We love you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of You Can Trust Yourself with Meg and Maggie. Our mission is to leave you with encouragement and tools to nurture your ability to trust yourself. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe and please share it with a friend. Then take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating and review. Your support helps our show grow, and for that, we are extremely grateful. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch the episodes. Till next week, lots of trust and love, Meg and Maggie.